Shalom, shalom, everybody. It's your brother Leon, and I'm here back with another video. Welcome, welcome, people. Um, I wanted to address a public, or not public, but common nomenclature that a lot of people have, and that is the state of being. You're either producing or consuming. And one growing up, he was always told, produce, produce, produce. We're just consumers, right? And I wanted to add some balance to this as I was meditating on it, and something was very impactful that was shown to me, right? There is a such thing as poor production and good consumption, and there's just great production and terrible consumption. So let's go over it real quick, right? See, we put a lot of emphasis on what we produce or how well we do it, right? So whether or not that's our performance, whether or not that's creativity and the realm of music or poetry or art or at work, right? And how well we work, that's our performance again, right? Or the way that we express ourselves. So we take a lot on our production and how we proceed to interact with the world around us. But what society is starting to grow into the understanding of taking care into what we consume. Now, a lot of people will leave consumption based upon just solely what you eat. And I'm going to say this on food: whatever you eat is what becomes a part of you. So you eat filthy beasts or animals that typically are just not healthy, well, then your body is going to be filthy and unhealthy because it breaks down those things to the decibel, to the actual proteins and amino acids, and that's what becomes a part of you. So keep that in mind. But consumption doesn't just end there, right? We also have consumption of the mind, right? And consumption of the spirit. What what does your mind think of? What is your mind chasing after? What are you consuming on TV, on social media? See, that's also a part of our consumption, right? And I'm going to visit what I said earlier before. What is good consumption? Anything that edifies you, anything that you read, watch, or listen to that builds you up or help rebuke or fix some of your flaws. Something that allows you to intrinsically look at yourself. Something that provokes thought. Something that provokes change. Something that provokes introspection or reflection on yourself, right? That would be considered healthy consumption. But do we do healthy consumption? You're consuming this video. You're taking these words in. You're listening to them. What are you doing with them? See, you can eat. And here, let's go back to food real quick. You can eat some of the most healthy food ever, but if you have a bad colon, if you have a bad, your intestines is all backed up with filth and things of that sort, then you can't properly digest those things, right? Um, or it could be too high, too intensive. You know, it's very intensive on the body to constantly eat steak or these some of these foods like such, right? So you can be consuming good, but are you really absorbing what you're consuming? Are you really, is it what they would call biodegradable? Is it really sinking in? Are you synchronizing with it, right? Um, and that's saying, like, is this stuff going over your head for the mental and spiritual? The spiritual component of it, though, is much more on the lines of what are you entertaining? Is it for the Most High, or is it for self and money gain? And not in the gain of something that could help you and your family, but something that might compromise yourself, compromise your morals, compromise your stance, compromise your principles, right? Or are you doing something that you feel is wrong, right? That's where the spiritual side comes on. So it really becomes with the intent of what you intend to do with what you're consuming or producing, right? And intent is just half the battle, because in actuality, intent doesn't always lead to the results that you want. And I'm not going to go all the way down into that, but that's something else to keep in mind. Just because you think that you're doing it the right way doesn't mean that you are. When we even look at the Israelites, right? When they wanted to worship God back when He freed them out of Egypt, they started putting up a calf and they started doing all this X, Y, and Z. Even though He expressly told them that's not what He wanted, that's not the way to serve on Him, and He finds it abominable. They did it and they was punished, right? Their intent was to serve the Most High, but their spirit wasn't right, and that's where that whole spiritual thing comes into play. But I feel as though I spoke abundantly about consumption. Let's go into production, right? There's poor production and quality production, right? What separates the two? Let's look at those real quick. Poor production leaves a terrible impact, or not an impact, or non-existent, right? For instance, if I was to work out, right, but let's say I'm an athlete, so I can do easily 50 push-ups, right? I go and I do 10 push-ups, right? And then I go and I do some other work, right? But I just gather myself all around with no order, with no regime, with no strictness, without really pushing myself. Then I just wasted time in the gym. I'll wake up the next day, and just because I don't feel sore doesn't mean I didn't do work, but I will not gain any more strength, or I won't be leaner, or whatever my goal was to achieve. And that's what the whole performance thing is for, is to achieve goals, right? Or to achieve results, right? So that's on the side of poor production or poor performance, right? Then we have quality performance. A lot of people understand what quality performance is, but they don't set standards and boundaries of what makes quality performance. For instance, everyone knows what success is, but does everyone know how to ascertain or what success for them really means? See, success changes person to person to person, just like me doing quality work in the gym changes person to person to person. It all depends on your situation, where you are, your environment, and what kind of impact did that leave onto you or onto whatever you was trying to impact, right? So we take this information. There's two states of being: consumption and production, or performance, right? And neither one is bad, right? We went over, there's good consumption. You need things to build yourself up. But we also went over that there's poor production. There's things that you can do that will yield no gain, right? So with that being said, what state are you on, and how are you moving in that state? That's a true and real question. We like to say, I was real busy today. Busy doing what? Busy pursuing what? Or we like to beat ourselves down and say, yeah, I was real lazy today. But at that time, was you recovering from, for instance, a workout? So today you took it a little bit easier. And then when you're in that time, what are you doing with it? What are you consuming? People like to have cheat days, right? And I'm going to hurt a lot of people's feelings with this. What are you cheating on? Are you cheating on your consistency? And if so, why? See, a lot of times we try to say that we want to change, but we desire still the things of the past, while not trying to change what the things that we desire, or to reach that same effect with a different catalyst or a different way of pursuing, right? Great for instance is if a person who likes sweets and they like to have a sweet at the end of the night, instead of having ice cream or things of that sort, they find certain fruits that are naturally sweet that are good for them, right? And some people say, well, you're not still supposed to eat at that time. It's a slow process of changing your desires and changing what you want for them, and changing these habits, changing these rituals that we constantly put ourselves into. We need to change our whole entire perspective on what consumption is and what production is, and how to fluctuate between the two. You can't always produce, because you need time to consume new things to help produce new and better ideas, plans, concepts, or things in general, right? And you can't always consume, because then you get this consumption overload where you think that you know all these things, but you can never express them. You can never help with them. You learn all these things vainfully because they have no purpose now, right? Or you're not exercising the purpose of learning them, right? One of the best purposes of learning is to teach, and one of the best purposes of teaching is to learn, and they go hand in hand. We need to stop separating the two and learn how to synchronize the two and let the cycle go. A lot of things in this world has a cycle, day and night, seasons, um, and things of the like. We need to start understanding the both sides and the true dichotomies of things that are good for us. And this is one of them: the state of being, consumption, and production. I hope this was informational. I hope this was thought provoking and causing action, right? And I hope that everyone can improve and keep going on in this journey that they're living in. Shalom and peace.